You're watching Meet the Movie Press, and coming up, we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel, Deathstroke, Justice League tracking, and unfortunately, Harvey Weinstein. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning, Simon.
Hello, I remember you.
Cheerio,
nice
big guy.
Nice to have you back.
How are you?
I'm very good. I've missed you.
And Justin, you good this morning, buddy?
I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there for a Friday.
Holy fuck, it's Kroll's on the show.
Yeah. You guys are watching
Welcome
Meet
back.
the Movie Press. I am Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com, and with me, as always, is...
Hello, I'm Simon Thompson. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ShowbizSimon. You can see my work lots of places, and I've got a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson.
And with us today is a special guest. You know him before. He's been here.
Recurring guest.
Justin Kroll from Variety.
Got your own art.
Get the recurring art in there.
Where can the good
we'll
folks
write
find?
it in right there. Like, well, this
I know, like a little.
Featuring or with. Yeah.
You can find him on Twitter at KrollJvar. So yeah, I have been gone for 3 weeks. The biggest fan of this show, the show's #1 fan, passed away. My mother. So that, it's been tough, but you guys were both very thoughtful and supportive. So thank you. As were a lot of the fans of the show. Really, I got a lot of messages on Facebook and on Twitter, and it was really overwhelming. So thank everybody watching.
It was our pleasure. She was really awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And so we are going to dive into a bunch of news shortly, but I did want to monologue for a little bit because the industry, the town that I have returned to, is forever changed, really. About 3 days after I went home in early October, the Harvey Weinstein bombshell hit. And it hit me hard for a couple of reasons. I started out writing for Ain't It Cool, and I was Mirror Jeff. That was my name after Mirror Max. I loved the Weinstein brothers. I admire them, as many people in this town did. Wrote a play about Bob Weinstein when I was in college. But the article that came out did not come as a surprise. Did it come as a surprise to you guys, or like, had you heard the whispers, Kroll, being in your position of Variety?
No, I mean Everybody, it's such a. That over the last couple of weeks, I'll get on the phone and be like, "Oh, but I'm not surprised." Okay, but you still put people in movies. You still were doing business. Like, I was growing tired of that act because, in all honesty, I've never been in a room with Harvey when he's with women. I've never seen him on a set. So, like, because he was a slob and like this big intimidating monster, verbally to people and a bully in a way, you just don't throw that in there. There's plenty of people that are around that industry, and I wouldn't throw those allegations out there.
Exactly. There's a lot of people who are bullies or intimidating.
Yeah, but it's not like, this came out about Hugh Jackman or something like that. Like, when it came out, it was like, okay, this is all kind of makes sense now.
So I wanted to, and I'm going to make this as short as possible so we can move on to the good stuff. I don't want to hog the mic here, but my experience with this story goes back 3 years. I was on the story 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Gavin Pallone, the producer of Curb Your Enthusiasm, wrote a column for The Hollywood Reporter, and in it he alluded to a studio mogul and rumors and all that kind of stuff, and he kind of called out journalists, and he seemed to issue a challenge saying, the reason that this hasn't been reported is that no journalist has the balls to publish. So I like a challenge. And I don't reveal sources, but I think Gavin's okay with this one. So I called Gavin, and I said, hey, man, you may not know me from a hole in the wall, but I'd like to think I've got some balls in this town. Who are you talking about? And he told me, it was Harvey Weinstein. So I went to my boss at the time, Sharon Waxman, the editor-in-chief of The Wrap, and she said, come on in and shut the door. And she told me that she had been on the story for the last 10 years and that she had basically tried to get it published at the New York Times back in like 2004, and that a heavily edited story had run. She basically said that the New York Times had gutted her story, which was largely about Fabrizio Lombardo, the Miramax Italy executive. But she knew about that Harvey had settled for sexual harassment, as did the New York Times. So all the stuff, while the New York Times, they did an amazing job, Jodie Cantor and Megan Twohey, I do feel like, as an institution, the New York Times has known this for more than a decade.
Keep going.
Yeah.
I have my thoughts on
like Sharon's old editor was like throwing shade at her to like, well, why, Sharon's run her own site and how come she hasn't published anything? It's like, it was tough back then, not only because the dam hadn't broken, it was a different atmosphere, obviously, in terms of the sexual harassment stuff, but the rap was not the New York Times. Like, when you're a journalist from the New York Times and you go to these women, you make them feel a lot safer. Even me as a guy going to a woman, asking a woman to go on the record for the rap.
I have my own monologue to go, but keep going on.
I want to hear all that. I'm going to try to speed up, but it's like the New York Times, those editors had to eat at the same New York restaurants as Harvey Weinstein. Yep. They accepted that those advertising dollars for the last 13 years. So the whole thing, where Dean Baquet is saying, well, I can't imagine anyone in the building knew about this. It's like, you know what, dude? You need a better imagination.
Yeah.
Sharon, I have every reason to be biased against Sharon, but Sharon's story has not changed in the past 3 years, and I really thought that the New York Times did her dirty. Like, when I read the New York Times piece about her, my hand shot to my mouth. I really felt like they had thrown her under the bus. I can't say whether her story was gutted or not, because I didn't read that initial story in 2004. I was just a kid in college, but that's how she felt. Now you have all these, pieces. Well, did Matt Damon know? And did all these people know? Did they try to kill the piece? I don't think it was like that. I'm not really interested in that game of who knew what and when.
That was the story that overshadowed a lot of other elements.
Right.
Because Matt Damon's a sexy name, and Sharon's boss isn't.
Right.
So Matt has to go to Deadline and talk about why isn't the New York Times person at the time doing that interview with Mike.
His name gets dragged through the mud. It's really, Matt Damon seemed like he called her to say, this Fabrizio guy is actually, he did some work. He wasn't like calling to kill a Harvey Weinstein sexual, harassment allegations.
We weren't on the phone, so I don't know.
Exactly. There's a lot to unpack here. The Bob Weinstein element of it. Did he out his brother? Because the New York Times got handed a whole bunch of internal documents, right, Simon?
Yeah.
Emails, personnel files. That had to come from somebody inside the company, really high up. The suggestion that Bob Weinstein, has been in his Big Brother shadow, right? For 30 years, and then waited for the very moment when he's most vulnerable, when the movies aren't making that much money, when he's not winning the Oscars, like. That's Shakespearean, if that's true.
It's true.
It's a classic Hollywood story. It's a classic Hollywood story.
There's a whole bunch of... David Glasser's been dragged into this. I don't know why David Glasser is still there. I find David Glasser to be a very smart, capable executive. He's no angel himself. He is a bit of a past. But, he should be running for the hills. He can get another job somewhere else in Hollywood. I just don't know why he's, tying himself to that company in the hopes of maybe running it. There's a whole. Go ahead. Okay. Cut me off for a second because I want to get my thoughts here.
Yeah. So there are elements to this whole. It's just been pounding the pavement the last couple weeks, and it's driving me nuts. And it was nice to get back to regular. It's kind of calmed a little, but not really. But the couple things that have drove me nuts. That goes to this thing with the whole. The New York Times, Josh Dickey, we worked for him, love him, all that stuff, love him or hate him. That whole when he tweeted about the trades are this and they're in his pockets, I'm like, the fucking Times are. They was doing this shit in their backyard. I know they broke it, but he was doing it 20 years ago. The LA Times too. It was. This is an encompassing thing. This isn't just Variety and THR and then Deadline. That drove me bananas. And I gotta be a little honest, I was getting a little tired of when this all broke, when nothing. I'm sure Sharon had a gripe, but when every reporter was like, "I was on this too,"
right.
It's shut the fuck up for a second. You're not the story at all,
right.
And don't try to be it. And the other thing that was driving me nuts are so many of these statements came off as covering my ass. The only statements the two statements I wanted to hear were Quentin Tarantino because he's worked every fucking movie with him. And to be honest, this is a weird one. Hillary Clinton. She is that's the new. To me, it's not just a movie scene; it's the New York socialite scene. Donald Trump was asked, he's like, "I've known Harvey, and it's not surprising." That might be the most truthful thing that Donald Trump has ever said in the last 24 months. Because I actually was like, you know what? He's probably right. Other than that, fucking Jennifer Lawrence coming out, I didn't need to hear her fucking statement.
Yeah,
like,
everyone in Hollywood felt like they needed to be on the record for this, and I understand that
we all know this
why
stuff is
you
bad.
want to condemn. But like Simon, the media, like that aspect of it, that two non-industry publications, really, the Times and the New Yorker, were both chasing this story within the same month. Like where was like Brooks Barnes on this? You know, at the Times. I don't know. There's a lot there. And then as far as like what is going to happen, I think that you're going to see a lot more women in positions of power. You know, like Amazon with Roy Price.
Well,
Roy Price got.
If we can just talk about women for a second, someone who's taken a lot of shit over this, and I'm not going to, support anybody, but a lot of people like Meryl Streep. She used to say a lot of really good things about Harvey Weinstein. She must have known.
Right.
Yeah. I'm okay now. Like you and I, we all you hear things. You can't just. You have to have something to back up an allegation.
Right.
And when people abuse people, they don't do them in front of people that would call them out. So, if Harvey Weinstein was to do something that he was accused of, he's not about to do it in front of Meryl Streep. Because Meryl Streep will go, what the fuck are you doing? As would most people, to be honest with you, in the industry. The people that take advantage in the industry are in the minority, but they're a powerful minority. And so when people say, oh, they must have known, that you can't say they must have known. We don't know if they knew or if they didn't.
That's why I'm not interested in that
They
game.
weren't in the room.
Yeah, it's like, who knows? I don't work, like I said, I have no idea. Like, I will say the aftermath of what happened with these women, sorry if I'm not speaking this thing, the aftermath that was happening with these women, maybe it gets to, like, Meryl hears that this happened to Rose, or, like, George hears that, like, that could have been a possibility, but I find that, like, I don't want to get into that part, but yeah, I mean, Meryl was one of the first people.
But
to release
there's also
statements.
people. I mean, we got someone in the chat now who's saying, all the girls saying they're victims now is suspect because why didn't they come out early and wait till?
That's crazy. They don't understand guilt and shame.
Exactly, and also you don't understand taking on somebody who is someone who owns the town.
Let's look a year ahead, though. This is what I see happen. I see more women in positions of power, like with Roy Price. Amazon wanted to hire a woman,
100%.
But I also see fewer women actually in the industry. This is what I think is going to happen. I think that men are going to close ranks and they're not going to be hiring female assistants. I think that men are going to protect themselves and they're not going to risk putting themselves in a situation where they have a cute 20-year-old blonde assistant.
Yeah.
And I think so. I think that is something negative that could actually come out of this.
I think you're right.
And that's honestly just basic psychology that men are going to avoid the temptation altogether. Like I said, you're going to see more women calling the shots, but it's going to be tougher for them to get in at the lower levels to climb that ladder because I think that there's going to be fewer female assistants.
I haven't thought of that take yet. That makes 100% sense.
There's a whole bunch of takes that no one seems to be focused on. So I think that's one of them.
Even years before this, I would always, when I was a manager, I would always make sure that if I was having a meeting with a woman or an intern or a work experience girl or boy, to be honest with you, male or female, I would never be in a room alone with them. Not because I'm some kind of sex pest, but because if you are in a room,
but you don't know what their intentions are either, and that way you can. It's kind of.
I had a
it's a valid point.
The HR department, I think, at the Weinstein Company is coming under fire, just like at Defy Media with the Screen Junkies thing. And the way that HR is handling some of these situations, I wasn't happy with how Mashable handled my thing. At least Harvey Weinstein and some of these guys are getting benefits of investigation. Okay, I didn't even get a conversation.
HR departments are never there for the employee. They're there for the company.
Right.
Well, that's what their role is.
What's interesting is you mentioned when you started your whole monologue, Ain't It Cool News.
Right.
The tip prior to this coming out, the tip of the iceberg was the
Devin and Harry,
the Harry, the Cinephile, like those like smaller things, but it was like this boys club community that kind of, if you think about it, starts from like who they see in front of them, and Harvey had this kind of persona that. It's and now you're hearing all this stuff of it, like the Fox News stuff was a while ago, obviously, but now the NBC
right that the Murdochs didn't care. They knew that they had a bad guy on their hands, but he brought in a rating, so they fucking re-upped his contract.
You
know who else I couldn't stand in all of this over the last 3 weeks is Lisa Bloom. She just came off like a trash human to me.
I can. agree with you more.
Yeah, I just and the report yesterday from the Daily Beast that she was basically shopping information about Rose McGowan's sexual history in an attempt to discredit her. I mean,
I'll
God.
be honest with you. You could literally walk down Hollywood Boulevard completely stark naked. That gives absolutely no one the right to touch you or do anything to you.
Good point, Simon.
No, you could be throwing yourselves at someone. That doesn't give anybody the right to do it.
So we're gonna wrap up with this topic. What do you guys think happens to the Weinstein Company going forward? Because they have 7 films in the can: Paddington 2, War with Grandpa with Robert De Niro, The Current War, which was supposed to come out at the end of the year and they pushed, Polaroid, the Dimension horror movie, The Upside, the remake of The Untouchables with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, Mary Magdalene with Rooney and Joaquin, and Hotel Mumbai with Dev Patel. So that's 7 films. Paddington 2 feels like it's going to, be a money maker. That seems like a hit that they can count on.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Weinstein? Obviously, they can't go on with the name.
The Weinstein brand is dead.
The name is dead. The legacy is forever tarnished.
Yeah.
Does the company move forward under Glasser and potentially Bob Weinstein?
No.
It sounds like the board wants Bob out. Do they just sell off the company piecemeal? What happens?
I mean, I've already heard that all these movies could move. All those movies,
all of them find a different home.
Find a different home. The ones that are finished. I mean, I did a story that they don't really. And this was in I wanted to bring this up quickly. Is like the timing of this all. Like, could this? I don't think this could have happened when these films were making money and helping people's careers.
Yep.
I hate to say that, but they're against the ropes a little bit. Like, and they're an acquisition type thing, and with Netflix and Amazon and Annapurna and A24 now,
they're squeezed out of their own territory.
Their people are overpaying where they can't anymore, so they just don't, and they don't develop movies like that. I mean, they rarely do. So it was that was the time. So I just see most of these films picking up and walking. I think in a lot of situations they're like co-financing with a lot of these things, so the other financier just is like later. We'll see. I think those couple Dimension films come out next month. I just don't see how they would they would be able to do it. But like Current War, Mary Magdalene, and The Upside, I feel like are.
It's like this had to happen, this moment in Hollywood, and I think Hollywood will be a better place for it going forward. But it's sad. It's sad what happened to these women. It's sad how Harvey's career is ending for someone who, he had great taste. He made a lot of great movies.
He did.
He made a lot of big careers.
You can't deny that.
I don't feel bad for Hardy. It is sad that the industry is losing someone that was making other things in tentpole movies. That one from a professional from that standpoint, he was trying to deliver films that were not that were original ideas that the filmmakers wanted to make more. So that is a shame in a way.
I wish I had been able to do more. I was not as talented or trained as an investigative reporter 3 years ago.
Jeff, I'm going to say the obvious. You're a guy too. Like the big thing with this is making women feel comfortable to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
When Cynthia Littleton got it was Cynthia who did the Bob Weinstein part of it from that producer on the Mist, right?
Yeah.
And then of course our colleague Rachel Abrams.
Props to her. I wanted to give her a shout out. We love Rachel.
She was in a contributing line and has had some stories. So I will say that when you're trying to talk to these women and whether it be on the phone or in person, they don't know if they can trust you because they already don't have trust in strange men in general. So that's where I don't totally put the blame on you.
Hopefully this industry can move forward and now the conversation, we can have it out in the open and all right. Well, should we move on?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's talk about some of Kroll's scoops this week. Let's start with Captain Marvel. Ben Mendelsohn is going to be the villain. Who are we looking at? How did this come about? Give us the scoop.
I mean, it just kind of came. It was really quick. No tracking for weeks. It was one of those rare
Mississippi, right?
Yeah, but it makes sense. Mississippi Grind. They worked on with the Anna and Ryan. He's obviously he plays a good guy. We saw him last night, and he was actually not. He didn't look like a scumbag in Darkest Hour. But Ben's a great villain. He was supposed to be Pennywise, as we had heard, or he was their choice, but chose to do Rogue One instead. Even an anti-hero type like Place Beyond the Pines, or
he's in Ready Player One too.
Ready Player One. He's got
Simon. Are you worried that Ben Mendelsohn we're seeing too he's in too many big movies as the villain.
But Gary
Do,
Oldman.
do you know what? Right
He's a
now,
new
I
Gary Oldman.
don't think so, because even though he's a very well-known actor, and again, I use sort of our bubble as an example, and then normal people outside that, I think currently he's very well-known amongst us. I think he's not a household name yet. So I think we haven't reached that tipping point where he starts to be overused.
He's getting close.
He is
got
getting
a real
close. Yeah, he's a
interesting
film
look.
or two away.
He's got an
and
interesting
I think this
look.
would change that.
Where I feel like, yeah, this absolutely. Well, the problem is I'm pretty sure he's going to be like almost in makeup or like some kind of like I don't know if this film will change
makes
that.
sense.
But yeah, I think.
But if I think you went to sort of go to any bar sort of outside sort of LA, in the US, and you show them a picture of Ben
if I told
Mendelsohn
my
and you said,
dad,
"Who's that?" They wouldn't name
friends
him.
in Detroit, who's Ben Mendelsohn? They're like, yeah, Netflix too.
I was gonna say they probably know him as the guy from Bloodline.
I will say with Ben, at first I was like, oh, another villain, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Mississippi Grind. Like it was almost he did that for the guys. That they were like, you'd be great as this. Let's go. But I don't mean to be a dick, but I was like, maybe I should let somebody else win since I did break this
Broke the
one.
directors and Brie Larson. This guy's been all over Captain Marvel.
But I like it, and this film I feel like is again making a nice play. It's making good choices on where it's going. So
And it is going to be, from the villain argument, I think it is going to be a different kind of performance. I think this will be more sort of pantomime-y. This, kind of,
My issue with comic book movies in general, outside of the Batman franchise, is that they have a villain problem. Like these villains are never like where you hate them, where you're just like rooting against them in a way. Like that was the reason I didn't like Civil War, because Daniel Bruhl was the lamest fucking villain on the planet. I will say Thor, the reason I've liked that so much is that Kate
right? They have a big, strong villain.
She was great in that, and there was other people in there. Villain.
Oh, did you see it?
I did.
Did you see it, Simon? Thor?
Yeah.
Do you guys? Can you talk? You can talk about it. The reviews.
I can talk about it. Yeah, the review's been out for a
Did you
little
both
while.
really like it?
Yeah,
or like,
I loved it. I thought it was really, really good.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
I'd say it's.
I've seen a few quite negative ones, and I'm very
Ant-Man
surprised by those.
1, this 2, Winter Soldier 3 for me.
Really? Wow. Okay.
It's
I'd
so
say probably
different.
say Civil War number 3, then Winter Soldier for me, but
Civil
otherwise
War
on the
didn't hit
top.
it.
but it's up there. It's
Yeah,
up
for
there.
me it is. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And the Thor movies were never in my mind.
Right,
Those were the
they're
bottom of the barrel.
I didn't see Thor 2 in theaters. It's the only Marvel movie I
This
didn't.
is why Taika's getting so many stuff right now. It's just because he really does turn it into. It's not the usual Marvel
Does his own
film.
thing with it.
But it's also
well casted.
there's all the elements. There's the action, there's the comedy, and there's the lore, the comic book lore, and all of them are handled really ably and equally, and with it's not one is at the expense of another.
How's
They all
Tessa?
sit together. She's really
She's
good.
really good. She's great, actually. I'd say they all look like they're having fun. Like
Yeah.
even Kate is, and she's very witty at times. Like her humor is I enjoyed it. It was like you thought when Kate was coming on, it was gonna be like cold and like not this like Blue Jasmine, I guess, is where there's a little more like while she's evil, there's a lightness to it too. So I liked it. But you want to segue to tracking?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, so there's no villain problem in Thor Ragnarok, but it seems like there is one in Justice League with Steppenwolf. I don't know who this guy is, what he does.
These DC movies in general.
And maybe that is why Justice League, I mean, if you're going to bring together the Avengers of the DC universe for the Justice League, give them a real threat to face. So what is this? So tracking is at around 110, 120. It could probably maybe go up, right?
Go up, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's not great, is it?
That's $25 million less than Suicide Squad. That's 40 less than Batman, Superman. This is Justice League. This is Batman's. This is all like Wonder Woman. Just is the number one with the biggest domestic. Beauty and the Beast, and then Wonder Woman. They've been putting her gal more front and center, but still, people have heard the stories. We reported, me and Brent Lang reported back in June about those reshoots and like how rough they were. It's just, it sounds, and you're right. I don't think the villain, like, no one even knows what the fuck the villain is. Like, they're just showing the
Avengers
group.
didn't have a great villain, right? The Chitauri, is that what the villain is in the Avengers?
The first Avengers had Loki, and that was a good villain in my mind.
Right.
The Ultron sucked. Yeah,
Simon, what did you think of that Mr. Box Office? Like, what's your take on the Justice League tracking?
I mean, I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't expect it to be much more than that at this stage, because I think there are people who are very excited about the movie, and I think outside of that, there are a lot of people who aren't particularly excited about it. I think you've got a couple of characters that people know and already have an affiliation with. I don't see people getting generally particularly excited about Aquaman outside of the fan base. Cyborg as well. And I think the fact they've drafted Superman in as part of the press tour, they're just trying to get regular people excited about this and give it some kind of familiarity. Well, because it just doesn't.
Superman's part of the Justice League.
Yeah, he is, but he hasn't been sort of previously. It was like Batman.
Well, it's
it was
supposed to be
Wonder Woman.
unveiled, but
They're
it's just
playing
like so
such a
dumb.
weird game with
it's
Superman.
kind
I
of-
don't even understand
So
what
is it,
marketing is
like-
doing
Yeah, well,
with him.
we know initially when you look at the initial
poster,
posters,
you can
he wasn't-
save the with
Yeah.
the Superman logo too.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and then they go, "Hey, Henry Cavill's in it,"
And then there's a report that he shot with his mustache. He's obviously in the movie.
Right.
It's. I mean, I don't get. I'm not getting the buzz. I mean, I'm very intrigued to see it. I'm quite looking forward to it. I always am with this kind of thing. I'm going in there with a very open mind.
Yes, me too.
I enjoyed Suicide Squad more than you did, and I really was not expecting much from that. You hated it. I'm gonna go into this with a very open mind. And after Wonder Woman especially, I want to see DC and Warner really deliver something good. I just don't think this is gonna be it.
Question for you.
Yep.
Because you're like, if you hear a movie's bad, why would you go see it? And blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. You pull
you gotta
that
form your own
bullshit line all the
opinion.
time. But I know you go see things for the water cooler talk. If you hear this
Yeah.
movie's bad, are you going to see it?
Yes, I mean,
See.
you still
I
have to
just-
see, because it's just.
But you ask all the time why people see movies.
Well,
that they
yeah,
hear
like
is
something
bad.
like King Arthur. I don't know why somebody goes to see King Arthur. King Arthur looked like garbage. I'm not gonna.
This doesn't look great. Like
It doesn't, but it's Justice League, so you have to.
the water cooler talk. He can't afford.
Yeah, but- yeah, you can't-
you're on this show all the time, dropping the what?
It's true.
Why would you see that movie?
You can't be part. You can't miss the conversation on
He's
Justice League. It's
admitting
too
it now.
big.
He's
But
admitting it now.
there's a lot. Listen, there's a lot of bad movies that critics and
you know
people
what?
go see, and it's like, why? Why bother?
I don't know if I will see it if it doesn't sound good. I'll go see one like thank you for my service or something like that or whatever.
Which I need to see.
I'll
you
be
see
honest.
that?
No.
There was one thing I wanted to say. The reason why I thought the tracking would be better is because Umberto came out and was like, I heard the tracking is great, and then other people were saying the same thing. Tracking is bullshit.
And it's also like
bullshit.
when they did screenings for Justice League about 2 months ago, and they also did it for people who are fundamentally fans of DC and fans of Justice League, and everyone came out and was like, oh my god, the first reactions are amazing. It's like, well, yeah, but if you put someone who's a fan of something in a room to watch a movie months before it comes out,
Everybody's excited. right?
everybody's going to be really excited about
I
it.
heard the test screenings in like. I remember the night I was out at Goal with Umberto and a bunch of guys watching like the Giants Lions or something like that because he's a fair weather New York fan. Even though they both suck this year, I heard that test screens were like really bad, like 40%.
Oh wow!
Like it was like that's like all those test screens like they try to
right,
like
100% for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Not a single problem. It's the
favorite
most
scoop
perfect
of all
movie
time
ever.
From but yeah, that's why I'm like I don't know. It's been weird, but we'll
I'm
see.
trying to keep an open mind too.
Yeah,
There's just
I am
so
gonna
much
go
of
and see
the.
it.
Is this a Joss movie or is this a Zach movie? It's like I don't care.
We never go into movies wanting them to be shit.
Right.
No.
We go in there and we don't want to go. I would love to waste 2 hours of my
We
time.
were all pumped for Batman Superman. I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
would be great. I will say, like, I know a bunch of people with like kids, like between 8 and 14. Those kids are eating up the trailers.
Yeah,
like,
they're
they're
psyched.
jacked. So I think the
I
family.
just don't get like
element was-
I know that this movie is about uniting the Justice League and then they face Steppenwolf, but what is the story?
It's just
I
so
don't
rushed.
understand what the story is.
And a little insider tidbit. So I've been tracking various movies in this world, director-wise, specifically Flashpoint. I've heard they've slowed that search down to see how this film does because I don't know if they're like giving everyone their own movie now. Aquaman's already shot, so we'll see.
Cyborg doesn't have a director or anything,
Well,
right?
obviously that's not happening anytime soon. Neither is Man of Steel 2. But
and the next one we may talk about.
but yeah, I've heard that like I keep asking about. They're like, let's see how this film does before you count your before we go forward on those type of movies.
Zeno Hour in the chat is saying that people are waiting for word of mouth / reviews to get excited. Now, I have to be honest, with things like this, where they're tentpole movies, you do have a lot of people who will get to see this, whether they're critics or journalists or whatever, and they will be so ball-bustingly desperate to get their name on that poster. I know many people in the industry who
Travers
think that
effect.
everything is fucking amazing, And it's not just Peter, there's other people who will do this, and anything will be, oh my god, it's the comedy of the year, it's the comedy of the summer. If you only see one film, blah, 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 it's the best film with Superman and Wonder Woman in it since the last one.
Sure.
They literally find any way they can get something that would possibly, they're poster whores, they're quote mongers, that's what they do. So having good reviews or positive word of mouth isn't exactly the best guide, because some people are just doing it to get on a TV advert.
I agree. I also think with Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic now, you can sort out who's doing. Like, there's just not enough.
Nobody can like everything.
My advice.
I am curious about when that embargo's up, because the Thor Ragnarok thing was like 3 weeks
Way-
in
yeah,
advance,
way
and
early.
that's obvious, and Logan and stuff like that. But
My advice to people who actually bother to read reviews, which seems like fewer and fewer people these days, is to find someone who you mesh with. Like, there's people who love every comic book movie. There's people who rag on every comic book movie, and then there's someone like me who I'd like to think is kind of judicious with my praise.
There is no right and wrong. It's personal taste. It's like pineapple on a pizza.
Right. And I don't claim to be a comic book movie expert.
No.
speaking of box office, how much has it made so far? It's like 650 million.
Something like that.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
There's more
Big
news
fan,
out of
big
the
fan.
out of the DC
Didn't see you on the
universe.
poster. Didn't see you on the poster.
More news out of the DC universe this week. Our pal Umberto broke the news that Gareth Evans is in talks to do a Deathstroke movie.
Early talks.
Early talks. Hollywood Reporter confirmed it, backed it up. Obviously, Gareth Evans 3 days before the report had put on Instagram or whatever the Deathstroke comic. So it's legit. But is this movie really going to happen?
Don't dress for it just yet.
No, a Fleming line.
No, I mean, I said something like Roberto's as he should. It was a good scoop. He was right. Like, I would have went with that. It is early discussions. It
was a good scoop.
It's a absolutely good scoop. I'm not busting. People were like, "Are you busting Umberto?" No. I'm just saying Gareth has been at like the finish line a couple times on tentpole films, and has just decided. Like Gambit is a perfect example, and has just decided. I'm not. The studio and me are not on the same page. I'm out. That's why I'm not like saying this is 100% just yet. Just because
the idea of Joe Manganiello topping any comic book movie, let alone a Deathstroke movie, we're like, who the fuck is Deathstroke?
I mean, that's the thing too. Is if Gareth's doing this,
I don't think this ever happens.
I don't know if Joe's involved, because Gareth would want to make his own choice.
The thing is that new DC label, whatever they're going to call it, that's going to be making cheaper movies. Maybe that's where this falls in. Deathstroke.
Oh, the Joker's going to be a cheaper movie?
I don't know. I assume
I
so.
can tell you right now, from what I've heard, that will not be a cheaper movie. It's not going to be 100. Like, what do you mean, but cheaper? Like Blumhouse style, or you mean like less than 150 million?
Here's what I think if DC really wants all these like little weird movies like Deathstroke and a whole bunch of like Batgirl, whatever the hell it is, Nightwing. They should be looking at the Dark Tower. I know everyone says, whoa, what do you mean looking at the Dark Tower? Dark Tower costs 50 to 65 million, right?
Yeah.
That, to me, is the sweet spot, and that's how you turn a profit with these kinds of movies.
They won't be able to do that. They're just... They can't do it.
But Dark Tower, I'm just saying, it had the feel of a much bigger movie than it actually was.
You could also argue that people were like... Well, if with more movie, we could have made that look better, and then so and so. Like,
it depends. I mean, it depends on how far they want to go back with a character. Because if you do it effectively as an origin story, kind of, and this is not a great example, but say like with the Punisher movies, like the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, and the Thomas Jane Punisher, and then you do it from that kind of
those are what 20, 25 million.
I just think the
And that's the
Joker
sweet spot.
origin thing is gonna be like it's still gonna be like 80 doing that $100 million movie. Though it's not, since it sounds awesome, I think it still covers. Excuse me. Its brand, but
Listen, Gareth can make a movie look amazing for $5 million.
Yeah,
We've
sure.
seen, those Raid movies are not expensive. So we know that he can pull off the action. For
very
Joker,
good.
I'm more interested in the psychology of the character. Is there any more comic book movie stuff, or can we...
I don't think so. Let's move on. Oh, no, Logan spin-off, X-23.
Okay.
Apparently James Mangold is working on that. I'm pretty excited to see that, and I think it's probably the only way that we will see Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine in a flashback or something similar.
Oh, no, I hope
Do you
that
think he's
doesn't
done?
happen.
No.
I definitely hope that doesn't happen.
no, I would. His days.
See, I'd be surprised
Yeah.
if it didn't. So
And I would want that
I'd be
spin-off.
surprised if this film gets made.
Yeah, I'd want that sooner than later, because kids
She's
grow
getting
up.
older.
Yeah.
The whole point is that kid. If they're gonna do
Yeah.
this, and Mangold isn't directing, he's like, it's
Overseeing,
like a James
shepherding.
Mangold presents type thing where he
Yeah.
puts his stamp on it. I mean,
God, that movie was so good. Logan really is
It's a great
still
movie.
holding up there.
we're gonna get to Logan.
Oh,
So I have
okay.
Not the movie, like I said, but like it'll play into one of our topics later.
Okay.
But I think get it moving quickly. I'd like it, but I just think their focus over there now is like figuring out the Fantastic Four and just the properties that like have that main like how they're gonna like who their main focus is finding the next Wolverine. That's what Fox needs to focus on. Let's get that straight.
Too bad Tom Hardy's Venom.
How they're gonna like exactly
And Bernthal's the Punisher.
in my mind, they needed to go like they did with Hugh, and Hugh was a discovery when he became Wolverine in 1998. Why not do like Boyd Holbrook or something like that?
I'm sure you
actually that would make sense because he was
Right. I'm sure you talked about this on the show already, but what did you think of the New Mutants teaser?
Really liked it.
different. I
Really
was
liked
like
it.
kind of
That'll look cool.
surprised.
Horror movie with mutants in it.
I was
That'll look
like,
cool.
Totally different than what I thought.
I like the yellow font and like how it looks like scratched.
Speaking
and
of
everything.
trailers,
Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
All right, Simon. What did you think? You kick us off.
What, with the trailer?
Yeah, what'd you think?
No, I really liked it. I sometimes find that ilk of movie, I'm either instantly going, okay, I want to see that, or I'm going to wait. It really drew me in. I like the style. I love the pacing of the trailer.
Yes, and how
I think the tone is fucking beautiful. So I'm 100% on board. I mean, everything about it. I saw was like, I really actually genuinely want to see that. It's a film I want to take my time with. I could see myself probably looking for a second screening quite after the first one.
I like the font with the lace.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's
just
beautiful. Daniel looks really good.
Just
shots.
the way he looks physically
Yeah.
with his eyes in the movie, it's spectacular face acting, which isn't kind of really a thing,
And like
but
this-
it's remarkable.
there's like a secrecy to what's going behind the curtain and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, I'm all for it. It looks like Paul is like reeled it in a little bit from like inherent, like having to adapt Inherent Vice. This feels like There'll Be Blood, Boogie Nights, like has that kind of like feel to it. And then, well, I mean, like
He's got a giant
Phantom
white
Thread's
penis.
just like Boogie Nights.
I
I guess you don't
bright
know.
shining star.
We've heard that there's a lot of erotic
So the Boogie
stuff in
Nights
there.
thing is not out of the
Yeah.
Well,
question.
it does feel very sensual.
I really like that line where he's like, as a boy, I sewed secrets into things, things
showed
that I
him
only knew were
sewing,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting idea. And Vicky Creeps intrigues me. I wonder if she's gonna pop up
The whole, I mean,
with the awards buzz.
so, but onto that, like, so, best actor.
Okay, so last night Justin and I saw Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't make that. Sorry I couldn't make that, guys.
It would have been nice to have you as a Brit. So that's Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill. He is definitely projected by most awards experts to win the Oscar this year. He seems to be the clear frontrunner. Justin, is the buzz deserved? Do you think he's vulnerable? Could Daniel overtake him?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we walked out. Me and Jeff had different opinions. I really liked it. I like those films where you get into the interpolitics. Like, I was a big West Wing guy, so watching people decide, because we obviously saw so a little backstory. The film focuses on like how Dunkirk. Like, we saw the Battle of Dunkirk. This was
This is the decision making.
This is the decision making of Dunkirk and how they were. I mean, and what Dunkirk, the movie
Call
didn't
it a
explain,
prequel.
is how. That was the entire. I didn't realize that was all the army. Like, that was in that little spot. I thought there was other elements. Like, they were that close to just wiping out and just totally being defenseless. And kind of like this struggle Winston has with whether he should side peace or like whether he should risk the destruction of his. I found it all very. It was enthralling. I was amazed how the pace. I thought it was gonna be like The Crown, where it's super slow. That's the Netflix show where John Lithgow plays Winston Churchill. And they're both different tastes. And I found Oldman, he like totally fell into that performance. He's like unrecognizable. He's funny at times. He's like I get Jeff mentioned like the speeches didn't like get to you as much.
Speeches didn't rouse me, and maybe it's.
I didn't find the speeches arousing as much those moments in the room when he's like going after Thomas Delane, I think, the guy from Stannis Baratheon from Game of Thrones. That's like this guy who's kind of going after his chair. There's that back and forth. He has a great relationship with his assistant, by Lily James. But back to Oldman itself, I think I know this new Academy thing that's going around, but I still think that if Oldman gets in, now there's the thing. There's been those years where like Ridley Scott for The Martian, Ben Affleck for directing Argo, that if you don't get nominated, that's the thing. So there's a possibility that people just don't like that. These new voters don't see it, and he somehow doesn't make it in. I don't see that chance, and I see once he gets in. I just like
he's going to get his first nomination. It's just a matter of whether there's another contender that can really challenge him for the win.
Do you know what? I think that's a problem because this year I don't think, and you touched on this in our email chain this week. I don't think there's been a huge amount of Oscar-worthy content this year.
And I tweeted. We were having a conversation last night when we were and I said, Jeff, it's less about how great the performance is, because I don't think it's even his best performance. I think he's better in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy or even Air Force One or The Professional, like going back today. But it's just
the competition.
It's a lackluster year. Like you're mentioning Daniel Day, the guy has 3 Oscars. Like, and that's an old Academy feel. I think if we're gonna go new Academy, this is my Logan tie-in.
Give it to me.
If Hugh can somehow get a nomination, and I think it's a super uphill battle. Like if people are looking at Wonder Woman as the superhero film that gets in this year, this and that. But if I've heard Greatest Showman is more of a commercial play, not an awards play. Especially on the performances. If Hugh can be like, you know what, let's try to go for this, and he gets into the mix. Like once you get nominated, it's
Fox just has so much shit.
I get you, but they also have shit that just like the
Post Apes, Greatest Showman, Orient Express.
But Logan has the pedigree.
Right.
If he can get in, he's easily the best actor. Even over Hanks for The Post. If he can get in there, I feel like given how he works the crowd, how his colleagues love him, the Academy I think loves Hugh Jackman, and the performance is great. I think it's Heath-esque in a way. Like I don't think it's as good as Ledger. I think he is your new Academy vote if you're going to go for that new Academy.
Interesting theory. I haven't heard that.
I keep talking about
Simon, what's the best male performance you've seen this year? Is it Jake?
No.
Yeah, I loved him in Stronger. I also really loved Willem Dafoe in Florida Project. I thought
that'll be supporting.
I think he's supporting in that.
Yeah, I think he goes supporting.
And I hear Hanks is going to be supporting too.
I do too, actually.
I mean, I was thinking about this. I was trying to draw up a top 10, and I know kind of the top, couple of movies that I'm going to have in it, but it's actually quite difficult to pull a top 10 this year. And you were talking about Hanks. Now, I was amazed that last year he didn't get, or the film generally didn't get more nominations. Sully.
Yeah.
So I think this year, potentially they could make up for that. And it's going to be a very political year this year, perhaps more so.
If the Emmys taught us anything, these voters very much want to award people where it can be an FU to the current administration.
Yeah.
And I feel that's what The Post is going to be. I think Meryl is almost just a lock. If she's even decent in that movie, after what happened at the Globes this year where Trump attacked her, given the political climate and what this film is being created for in the first place, and given who she is, is there even an actress that's really like?
It's a good year for Best Actress.
Frances McDormand, I think,
great.
is pretty good. She's also won for Fargo, so like there's no reason to award her like Oldman in a way. But I just think it's Streep. That's the Streep one. But from an actor standpoint and a film standpoint, I just don't think there's nothing came out of the festivals that was like La La Land just came out and just crushed. Where Moonlight had all this momentum. There's none of.
It's a wide open race this year in Best Picture.
Films, no Cannes films, none of these. Like in years when usually festivals drive that, it was just one disappointment after the other. I mean, think about it, downsizing.
But even a couple of months ago, people were talking about Wonder Woman. It was like a Best Picture nominee.
You laughed it off. I think it's possible.
I don't think it's. I'd be very surprised.
I'll tell you.
This is the year that the emoji movie is probably going to be nominated for animated.
Less so on Wonder Woman and more so on Get Out. Get Out a few months ago I would have laughed off as a Best Picture nominee, and now I think it is actually going to get in.
These 4 films right now: Get Out, Logan, Wonder Woman, Dunkirk. I think Dunkirk's in.
Could
I think
very well win
Dunkirk
Best Director.
Maybe actually be our front runner right now because it hasn't lost steam where all these other films have. Those 4 films that are considered commercial tentpoles and never awards plays now have a chance. I think Get Out has a big chance, and I've come around on Wonder Woman, and very much on Patty Jenkins getting a director.
Do you know a film I think probably won't, but I'd really love? I think it's probably going to do really well at the Spirits, but I don't know whether it would get Oscar nominations. But I think there are a number of people in there that could do, whether it's script or whether it's performance. Is The Big Sick. because Holly Hunter, Ray Romano, both excellent in that. As were two lead cast, it was brilliantly written.
Yep.
I could see potentially 5, potentially 6 nominations coming out of the Big Sick.
Honestly, I'm
And it's
fucking
one of my
pumped for the
favorite
Globes.
films of the year.
I'm pumped for the Globes. I think Kumail will be nominated. I think James Franco will be nominated.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be a cool Globes year.
I think The Big Sick's the most overrated film of the year, but I think it could be in the nomination play.
I do want to see it again. Before
Hands down. I'm looking at you, camera. Big
Most
Sick, overrated film of the
Wow.
year.
I
and it's
loved
a good
it.
movie.
I loved
it's a good
it.
movie. But by the time
movie.
I saw it, I thought it was going to be like Annie Hall.
There's a few more topics I want to hit upon, but let's get to box office.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we had to cut the Oscar stuff short, but we have months and months to talk about the Oscars.
Some of the films haven't even fucking come out yet. So
So let's go to the box office. What happened last night, Simon?
Okay, it's Jigsaw on previews Thursday, 1.6 million, looking at a weekend of 18 to 22. Now, I did a piece for Forbes this week on the opening weekends for all of the Saw movies and where this would fit into this. This is kind of mid-table, really, for the Saw franchise. No real surprise there. 1.6 million. Suburbicon didn't have previews last night. Looking at a weekend of 5 to 7 million.
What?
Yeah, that's
5
what,
to 7 million
yeah,
for Matt Damon,
which is such a shame. I saw that a couple of weeks ago. I did the junket in the premiere this
Did
week.
you like it, or you think it was a mess like I did?
No, I really enjoyed
I didn't
it.
hate it. I felt... Go ahead, real fast.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I liked the tone. I liked it was nice and dark. I thought I loved the humor, the Coen Brothers humor coming through on that. I thought the African American family, they really needed to do more than that. That was just purely
shouldn't have been in the movie.
So
like,
it was that was classic George.
I see why it was in there, but it really they could have done more with that, which they just didn't do.
The Damon, that storyline was perfectly fine. Also, in terms of the humor, I thought George rewrote it and his humor sucked. Like, he was trying to do Coen Brothers humor and it wasn't as funny.
Yes.
There are elements that work, like the lineup scene where the kid realizes that. I thought there are scenes that are shot well. Oscar Isaac needed to be in it more. He was awesome in
He
it.
definitely gave the movie a lift. It
He's a
definitely
high
comes
point.
alive when he shows up.
That was the Coen-esque part, the most Coen part.
Well,
of
I'm
the movie.
amazed that he hasn't been doing publicity for it, because he was he was a high point for me.
I can't say too much. I have heard. So he's he's above the line. It's George.
Right.
He didn't want that. From my understanding, he's like, I'm barely in this. Why am I getting, like, the kid should have the third line, or it should just be George and Julianne.
Kid was good.
I actually like the two mobsters. The
Yellow
bad
King.
guys.
The Yellow King.
Two of the
what's his
best guys
name?
And his
Home
partner,
Alone.
the skinny
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh, and the uncle, what's his name?
Yeah, the uncle was good.
He needed more of him.
So then obviously there's a thank you for your service. That's going to be below Suburbicon. They're looking at about 5 for that.
Poor Miles.
Yeah, and then, so really the top is looking like Jigsaw's probably going to be up there. Third place is going to be battling for Geostorm, Happy Death Day, Suburbicon, and Thank You for Your Service. And even then we're looking at sort of 5 to maybe 8 million, which is not good for a second, third.
Two
battle.
words.
Yeah.
Stranger Things,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
Sit on your couch all day Saturday.
Did you guys watch last night?
No.
I watched the first.
I watched the first one last night.
I stayed up.
I got home from Jigsaw and I had to, like, Stephanie here.
What is Jigsaw like?
Okay, so
give me a review.
I saw Jigsaw last night. It delivers, you know, if you're going to the movie on opening night, it delivers what you're looking for. There were a lot of scenes where I was squirming, but then, you know, you get to that last 15 minutes where everything, like, comes out and they tell you, like, what was actually happening the whole time. So convoluted. This series loves to play the dual time track thing where you think things are happening at the same time, but it's actually, this is happening way before this other part. It's like,
The original Saw.
so infuriating.
Where do you put the original Saw on your, like...
I love the original Saw.
I'm-
I think the original Saw is a masterpiece.
Yep,
A
agree.
masterpiece.
You.
Yep. Acting aside, because the acting is some of the worst acting I've ever seen in a motion picture, between Cary Ellis and the writer Lee Winnell, I think I loved the original Saw. My jaw was on the floor.
Yeah. Me too.
Nah, I like the like that ending when our boy gets up. And he's been like that. If you haven't seen Saw,
yeah, fuck off.
fuck off. But yeah, Miles. Let's real quick. That's just, I mean, I was shocked. Only the Brave had decent reviews, and to see how that film, I think it was like 5 million.
Yeah,
It was just such a. And then this film's gonna get. It's
Not a good month
it's
for our boy
shame.
Miles, and he's
those
such
are
a good actor.
Movies. Those are good movies, and he's trying to do other things.
Yep.
He did his Fantastic Four thing. He got away from it. That's a fucking bummer. So Miles, keep fighting, man. That's
all these movies are good. Bleed for This.
only
What
been
was the one?
movies in a while. Fantastic Four.
War Dogs, right?
War Dogs. I liked
like all these
the
movies.
awkward moment. I like that movie. Will go down as
Two Night Stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They got to find him a real hit. He needs like I'd like to see him in like a legal drama, like McConaughey in A Time to Kill, like make Miles as a young
like
lawyer.
an old John Grisham, like The Associate
Right,
or something
exactly.
like that.
What?
I was just gonna ask, like, since it's Halloween weekend, is there name 2 films that you go to on your Halloween weekend?
I'm gonna let Simon field this first.
Okay.
Like, how about an unoriginal one and a classic one? Give me the classic one and like the one that people wouldn't expect.
Do you want one that respects, or do you want one that I love?
Well, like a Sacred Deer, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, I think is a new horror film, but it's not like a Halloween type. So
okay,
an older one, a newer one.
I would for a classic. I would probably. I'm a big fan of either Halloween 2, or
I like that.
Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall,
which I fucking love.
Okay, I like
it's terrible, but I do love that. And then something new. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, Gerard's Game. On
Gerald's
Netflix.
Game, yeah.
Really, really good.
That should that skeeved me out, that one scene. You?
The Fly is my
like the Goldblum one?
The Goldblum one, yeah. It's just Shakespearean and just gross, and like that music and just Goldblum's look. And this like that line where he's like, if you stay, I'll hurt you, is just still one of the creepiest lines ever. And then it's not necessarily new, but the one, to me this day, it's the most screwed up movies. Like, it will give you nightmare for weeks. The Hills Have Eyes remake.
Yeah.
Is
one of the better ones.
Bar none, one of the more freakier things ever. That trailer sequence for 10 minutes, it's just, chilling.
My classic, I'll give a shout out to my old man. I'll go with Candyman.
Yeah,
I love Candyman,
choice.
and it's a classier movie than you might remember, with a Philip Glass score. It's a gorgeous score. And then for the newer one, if you have not seen Raw yet, the cannibal movie that came out earlier this
I've
year,
actually downloaded that. I'm watching that on a
Raw's
flight to
brilliant.
Denver tonight.
Like, if I was back, you see a lot of the same female director names on all these lists, and it's like Jennifer Kent, the Babadook. Now, if I had to get behind one female director on the genre side, it would be Julia Ducournau. I thought she did a fucking amazing job with Raw. So yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. Do you guys have costumes picked out?
Yeah, I'm going as Eminem from the freestyle thing at our Halloween.
I just figured you were gonna go as Blade Runner as K, which I still haven't seen.
What?
I'm gonna try. I know. I may go tomorrow because it's gonna be out of theaters soon.
Yeah, I was ordering the jacket for that, and it just never came, so I had to go for a backup. So
Simon,
I don't dress up for Halloween.
he's Jason Statham,
and I'm going as Simon.
Jason Statham.
Did you guys watch Mindhunter?
Not
I
yet.
have not had
That'll
a
be like a
chance.
Thanksgiving
guys.
binge for me.
So-
I heard it's a long burn, but I definitely am gonna give it a try.
Brilliant. Do we have any additional time on today's episode in the booth?
If we do, we can run through a couple of final little bits.
I know that I wanted to get to the Morgan Creek thing. I just want to make sure we have the time. All right.
Yes.
So Morgan Creek
It's like a seance.
announced they're basically going to try to exploit their library, which includes Young Guns, Major League.
Yeah.
There was one title that was missing, but Simon, what did you think of that announcement?
Interesting. I think some of them could do with either a remake or a reboot. I think some of them I really don't like the idea of. I mean, Pacific Heights is on the list.
That was an interesting one that I saw in there.
Love Pacific Heights. I think if it was redone now, it could potentially be absolutely horrible.
Yep.
So
Maybe with Airbnb though, like something like that.
Yeah, but they've tried that with a terrible one they did with it was Scarlett Johansson and someone, where it was like the neighbor or whatever. It was a terrible Hammer one they did a couple of years ago, and it was The Tenant. It was terrible. So I don't really want that. Major League I think could be really interesting.
Young Guns would be.
Young Guns.
I love
I'd
Young
really
Guns.
like
Who would
to
you
see.
guys cast as Ricky Vaughn? Wild Thing Vaughn.
Miles?
I was thinking Miles Teller.
Not bad.
I did a fun thing on Ferrara's podcast where we like cast the 84 Mets, and I think I had Miles as one of the guys in that.
I actually like that. It's not bad.
You know who Tom Berger role? McConaughey.
Oh.
Do you know the guy who was like using the voodoo? Mahershala Ali.
Oh yeah, that's President Palmer.
That's
Yeah.
Haysbert.
So
It's a great cast. The Wesley Snipes I would probably
here's the
do,
thing:
like-
Major League is so fucking great.
Kevin Hart
Young
would be
Guns
great
is so
as
good.
Wesley
Kevin Hart be great in everything. Pauly Shore.
Those two movies are so good, Young Guns
But he's, like, athletic.
and Major League. It's tough. It's gonna be tough to improve upon them. There's one movie in Morgan Creek's library that was not part of the announcement yesterday. That is one of I love it, but it can easily be improved upon. Is The Crush. That's the only reason I've called Morgan Creek for the last decade. Is what's going on with The Crush.
Never seen it.
Really?
It's an awesome movie. Oh my god, it's
That's
so
a good
cool.
movie to watch this weekend,
yeah.
dude. With Alicia, it doesn't get
awesome.
any better
Do
than
a
that
double
as
bill
far
of
as
that
young
and
Lolita.
Fear. Awesome.
Fear's a good one. I like Fear.
Yeah.
If you like Fear, you'll love The Crush,
Yeah.
dude.
Would that be sort of permissible now with the whole Lolita aspect of it? Crazy.
So this is one thing I wanted to talk about with the Weinstein thing. So like my roommate is trying to he's shopping around a sex comedy right now, and it's very raunchy. I don't know how you make a movie like American Pie, a movie where like guys are trying to trick women into sleeping with them or things like that. I think the only way you can do a sex comedy these days, at least for the moment, is to make the women the aggressors. The kind of like the way with Blockers, this movie with Leslie Mann and John Cena coming up, where it's the girls, it's the daughters who are trying to lose their virginity.
I thought that was called The Pact.
It was The Pact. Now it's called Blockers. Yeah, they changed it.
Awful name. We're already kind of seeing it. This was on the TV end, but in the last week I've been following this because it's been very intriguing, and I think it's timely. Obviously, was Barstool Sports and ESPN teamed on a TV show.
I was furious about that.
Fucking so mad. This thing, Barstool Van Talk. It's based on this excellent podcast you all should try. Pardon my take with Dan, Big Cat Cats, and BFT Commenter, and it was pretty much just like fun interviews and all that stuff. But Barstool Sports has it's Howard Stern in a blog form, and they're non-PC, raunchy.
ESPN knew who they were hiring.
But exactly.
And they deliver the show that they promised.
And a couple female anchors who had been in fights raised their voice, and the show was canceled after one episode.
Right.
And to me, by the way, that clearly showed that John Skipper didn't care about what the people who were against
Skipper's a mess.
And for it, he just made a bottom line investor decision, and as soon as two people raised their hand, but that's the thing right now that we're into is this atmosphere is going to affect a lot of decisions on good things that don't have any harmful means. That's the problem, and that's what scares me a little bit. Is like we're gonna lose. Like there's gonna be some good ideas that get thrown out because of the political or the climate that we're in.
But also, quite rightly, I mean, I caught a film that I'd never seen before. I always saw it in the video store growing up. A movie called Angel, which was about a girl who's like 14 or 15, who was a schoolgirl by day and a prostitute cop, hunting down guys who were killing women on Hollywood Boulevard.
Track this one down.
It's like she was 14 or 15. She did like 2 or 3 sequels. 14 or 15 years old. I'm like, how did a film get made where there's a girl who's 14 or 15 who is in school in the day and then out being a prostitute at night? I'm like, how? There are 80s. What were you thinking?
The thing is like those movies don't get made anyway anymore because of. But I think that in writers' rooms and there'll be a change of climate in all sorts of things with this stuff. So
just saying, you throw Bella Thorne in a remake of The Crush, I'm there.
Do you know what? I'm not there. I don't want to see that in a movie theater because I know it's going to be full of sort of really creepy guys. It's like the time I saw The Secretary in London. There was a guy jacking off in in a regular movie theater watching The Secretary.
Yeah, I felt pretty dirty.
Okay, it was me, but it was just like,
I thought so.
I was like,
anything else? I mean, Justin Lin coming back to direct Fast and Furious 9. Is that a surprise to you guys at all?
Not really.
It was surprised how underwhelming the announcement was.
Yeah, very weird.
And then all of a sudden, I saw it. Jordana Brewster coming back as well.
I get the feeling that has to do again with the whole Hobbs, the backlash.
Yeah.
I wish we could have been talking about that when all this Tyree stuff was going on.
Oh man,
just a joke. A joke.
Listen, every movie that comes out is a miracle in some way, but the Fast and Furious movies seem to be really special miracles.
Yeah.
From what I've heard about all the infighting on set and that kind of stuff. I mean, the movies make money, so who gives a shit? But I'm not surprised that they went back to a familiar face who's in the family, Justin Lin, someone who they can trust. Because from what I was told, there was no way F. Gary Gray was coming back. And that movie made $1 billion. How come he doesn't have another movie with Universal? How come Universal isn't keeping this guy in the fold?
They did. They had the Bourne thing with him, and that blew up in his face because Paul Greengrass came back.
With F. Gary Gray?
I thought you were talking about Justin Lin. I'm sorry.
No, I did a quick switch.
Who knows what the deal is with F. Gary Gray? I mean,
I'm just saying he did Compton for them, big hit. He did Fast 8, big $1 billion movie for them. Where's his next movie for them?
The Jungle Cruise movie with Dwayne. You think that would have been a shoe-in given like how?
So I'm telling you, shit went down on that Fast 8 set. But Justin Lin coming back to do 9, and Jordana Brewster will be back after sitting out 8 as well. Hey, I love Jordana.
I love Jordana, but that was that. And by the way, this Bad Boys spinoff on TV with Gabrielle Union.
That's not Bad Boys.
Where's Martin Lawrence? He has no work right now. Why isn't it Martin Lawrence and Gabrielle Union like teaming up? That would be awesome.
Brother, sister.
But like, how can you have a Bad Boys spinoff with?
Led by Gabrielle Union.
She's not. It's not even like Robin Givens was the white. Like there's other like Tia Leone. Like get them.
They're all available.
Gabrielle Union doesn't need that
Bad
shit.
Boys from Bad Boys 2. I know. That was funny.
They could have got married, Mina Gio. Bad Boys for wife.
Yeah.
I love Jordana Brewster, so.
Yeah.
Anything else on your list, Simon?
Very quickly, last night there was a screening of Shaun of the Dead at the Greek Theatre. A number of the cast and also the director, Edgar Wright, turned up. Also turns out this week that Simon Pegg apparently pitched a sequel to Shaun of the Dead to Edgar Wright, but involving vampires. I actually quite like the idea of that, but I don't really want a sequel to Shaun of the Dead because I love that movie.
Unpopular opinion alert. I don't love it.
Really?
I think it's his worst movie.
His what, really?
Yeah.
That's blasphemy.
Yeah.
I disagree.
He's made worse movies. I just think at this point Edgar's moving on to bigger and better things after Baby Driver.
Yeah, it'll never happen. Never happen now.
If there's a sequel in the works, it's Baby Driver. He would rather. I think it's high on his list.
I thought that Warner Brothers announcement yesterday about Survive the Night that was on THR, but a music-driven horror thriller. I thought it was
Isn't
pretty.
the Pharrell Williams thing?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I think that is you're going to see. That's the Baby Driver effect. More music-driven movies that integrate that. It's a key part of the plot.
I'm up for that.
50 Shades of Grey worked for that.
All right. So I think that'll do it for the show this week.
Yeah.
Justin, where can folks find you?
I'm on Twitter at KrollJVar, or just go to Variety.com, and I'm all over that site.
Simon?
You can find me on social media at Twitter and Instagram at ShowbizSimon, and I have a Facebook page, This is Simon Thompson, and check out some of the pieces I've written this week on Forbes as well. A couple of interesting things, including McDowell's coming to Hollywood from Coming to America.
Oh, the restaurant, the pop-up restaurant.
Fat Sal's in Hollywood.
Zamunda Fries.
Yes.
And I'm Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com. Lots of cool, exciting stuff coming to that site soon. Popcorn Talk Network. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And tell everybody if you like it.
Yes.
Be safe this weekend, guys.
Yeah, enjoy Stranger Things.
Don't shit your pants.
From the Popcorn Talk Network,
producers
the
Maria
online
Menounos,
broadcast
Kevin
network for movie
Undergaro,
talk,
Phil
and the Schmoes
Svitek,
Know.
and the entire
This
Popcorn
is Meet
Talk
the Movie
Network.
Press.
We would like to thank
Roundtable
you
movie
for
news and
tuning in.
commentary from
For
the
questions or
industry's premier
comments,
film
be sure to
journalists.
visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Kristian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.